just to place before you. Spirituality, God is spirit, and spirit of God is in man. God is all consciousness, and we are drafts of the ocean of that consciousness, environed by mind and matter. As I submitted just now, our soul is under the control of mind. Mind is under the control of outgoing faculties, and outgoing faculties are dragged like anything but the outer enjoyments. We are identified with it, we cannot differentiate. In theory we might, intellectually we might infer. Really we cannot see this right perspective unless we ourselves rise above body consciousness, the demonstration of which was given to you at the time. So spirituality is knowing who you are, what you are. What is your connection with the body? How long will it continue? After all, each man has to leave the body. Now what will be our fate beyond? So this rising of our body consciousness, withdrawing our attention from outside and from the body below, rise up to come in contact with the Spirit of God, God into expression power. This truly means spirituality. So spirituality is no spiritism. Spiritism to be in contact with the lower groveling spirits which have left the body. And it is no spiritualism. It is only come in contact with those souls who go a bit higher in the other world. But they cannot give you messages more than they have attained already. They are no wiser than when they left the body. So that is not spirituality. And hypnotism also knows no spirituality. And mesmerism also, the people think the other way. So spirituality means self-analysis practically, a way out from the physical body into the beyond. How to do it? How can we separate our body from the entanglements of the outgoing faculties and attachment of the out of the world and the body below? This is, strictly speaking, spirituality.
Dear Master and dear brothers and sisters, well, 5 minutes for talking about remembrances of the Master Kirpal Singh. It's short. When I started to think about all these things, it was like looking out to my life and seeing this red thread going through all the years. I saw Master Kirpal Singh first in 1963, and through some of these chances, he came to the house of my parents. So I did not see him there, but I saw him in his talk. But it took another 4 years for his hooks to bring me really to the path. So I got initiated then only in 67. In 69 I had my first trip to India, and it was very exciting. But it was also very exciting that at the very moment I had not even unpacked, the master and his secretary came to me and talked to me about things like representatives and mission and things like that, and I hadn't to do with it at all. And these things were roaming in my head all the 4 weeks when I were there. When people say, sometimes people say, oh, your master, he's looking so strict and so frightening even. I never found an occasion when I had this feeling in his presence or otherwise And yes, he was, when he talked to us, he sometimes was strict, he was to the point. And he also sometimes would interrupt people when they would say, yes, but master, things like that. And he would say, listen, listen, and start it over again and explain again, very, very patiently, several times repeating everything and really full attention. This was also one thing that really was amazing for me, to see how single-pointed his attention was. And not only being in satsang with many people, but the slightest thing he would do with really concentrated full attention. And also I was very much moved about the way he would talk when he was sitting on stage, because all these other, Master Kirpal Singh tried to bring the religions together to understand each other better. It was one of his main things he wanted to make us understand. So he always invited all these yogis and these religious leaders, and when the Sunday satsang was talking, it was really something. I thought very demagogic. We did not understand anything because we were talking in Hindi. But in the end, when all these hours were over and you hardly could sit anymore, then the master would really go over the whole thing and clean up the atmosphere. And he was talking quite the same way if there were sitting 2 people or 200 or 200 or 20,000 people in front of him. It was always natural, normal. This was very impressive for me. My greatest problem was and is meditation. And there was one occasion, he used to come in the morning when in our small room there were, I think, hardly 15 or 20 people there from the West. And we had to meditate till he comes, and he had many other jobs because all these high-class people would come in the ashram and would have many important things to be done for him before he came, and it sometimes took till 9 or even 10 till he came. And then we had this little round, and every morning he would ask about our meditation experiences. And after about 4 days, I really came to the point that I thought, if he'd ask me again, either I run out of the house or I will jump into his face or do something. So I was the last one in this round and was sitting right next to him on the floor. And when it was my turn, he came down with his beautiful face quite near to me, and he just said, I'm very lovingly. And he never would ask me any more about my meditation experiences. Yeah, in 69 there was this occasion, we had been on a tour, and I had a camera, this old type of camera where you have to look into it, so you see everything the way around, and you cannot look to your object, but you have to look down. So I was trying to take a shot of Master, and he was opening the door of a car for me, but I did not check because I was so much with this technique. And I took 2 shots, and when I looked up, he still was standing there holding the door and waving, just come into the car. And I thought, well, this is something really symbolic. I mean, we are so much engaged with our technical things and everything what we're doing and active and things like that, and we do not see that Master standing there and holding the door wide open to tell us, please, why don't you finally come in? And in 72 we had this tour for Master in the West again, his 3rd world tour. I could follow him all through Europe, and I must say, only in Germany there were some people coming to these talks. We had at least, like this, 800 in Nuremberg, so we're very proud of that. But only 2 of them got initiated years later when Master Thakar Singh came, because it was no initiation after the talk, and So it was for me going all through England and France that more German people were sitting there than native people, and the halls were so empty, and I thought this great and important spiritual personality is here and trying to bring these very important things to us, and nobody's coming and nobody's listening. Well, and in '72 I also had a private talk in Paris with him, and so the content is not so important for anybody else but me, but many things of what he said then I could not understand at all during this talk. And years later, things from, oh, that's what he meant then. And so we should be careful not to miss any word that Master talks to us, says to us, because sometimes we will understand it also. The Master was active in this World Fellowship of Religions, where he was the president of for many, many years, but at the end he was so disappointed that all these religious groups, they were just taking the opportunity to, how he said, strengthen their own pillars. So in '74 somehow he did his last show for us. He said, now we put it on the base of human beings. All human beings are one. So he made this Unity of Man conference. So all we disciples had the opportunity to see the Master for the last time. We did not know, because at that time we thought, oh, wonderful, we can have our vacation every year in India. Master is now 80, or he will be 90 at least. So we were thinking. And in '74, I started to take down Master's talks and to tell to the German people who could not understand it afterwards, after the talk. And when we left, or even through 2 occasions, Master would say, who is going to translate when you leave? And now I think I should have asked him, whom am I going to translate when you leave? Because when I wrote my last letter to him in spring of '74 and asked if he could come back in autumn to see him in India, his letter was dated 17th of August. It was 4 days before he left the body. And he would write, please come next year. And when we got this letter, he was not there anymore. So we followed this advice to come next year, and things went on. But how do you feel when your Master leaves you? So even Master Kirpal Singh, who had his Master present all the time inside, he even did say, I would give the rest of my days, all of my life, to be one day again together in the body with the physical Master.
They that live by the light of the outer sun are blind, O Lord, are blind, O Lord. They who live by the light of thee, only they can see. Kirpal, Kirpal, Kirpal Gurudev, Satguruji. Gurudev, 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 Kirpal, Satguruji. My life, my life, my everything, it is for you, my heart does sing. My light, my life, my everything. It is for you my heart doth sing, O Sant Guru, Sant Guruji. The sun of truth shines in splendor for they who at thy holy feet surrender. O Satguru, Satguru, Satguruji. Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Kirpal, Satguruji. Kirpal, 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 Gurudev, Satguruji. In the night I weep for thee, O Lord, when will you come to me? In the night I weep for thee, O Lord, when will you come to me, O Satguru, Satguruji? Kirpal, 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 Gurudev, Satguruji. Gurudev, 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 Kirpal, Satguruji. Well, now at last thou hast heard my cry, filled with light before mine eyes. Now at last thou hast heard my cry, filled with light before mine eyes, O Satguru, Satguruji. Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Kirpal, Satguruji. Kirpal, 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 Gurudev, Satguruji. The sun of truth shines in splendor for they who at thy holy feet surrender. O Satguru, Satguru, Satguru. Kirpal, 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 Gurudev, Satguruji. Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Kirpal, Satguruji. Yearning for the Lord to meet, at last I have found thy holy lotus feet. Gurudev, 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 Satguruji. Gurudev, 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 Kirpal, Satguruji. My life, my light, my everything, it is for thee my heart doth sing. My life, my light, my everything, it is for thee my heart doth sing, O Satguru, Satguruji. Kirpal, Kirpal, Kirpal Gurudev, Satguruji. Gurudev, 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 Kirpal, Satguruji. Yearning for the Lord to meet, at last I have found thy holy lotus feet. In the summer of 1972, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and saw a flyer that had Christ, Buddha, and some other master, I don't remember which one, all in the same sentence. And all my life I had been going to the different religions and having the people who were missionaries for different religions visit me and tell all about their things, and just was trying to find out, about the mystery of life, and the idea that there were all these religions, or great people from the different ideas of spirituality in the same sentence attracted me. Went to this program by initiates of Sant Kirpal Singh, and started going to the satsang, the local satsang, and during that time I had an experience which I was surprised. Sometimes going back and forth to the satsang, there was like a movement in my head, an actual physical movement, and I wondered what that was. Well, as you may know, I have a very big head, and in many ways, and he was probably trying to shake something out of it there. At any rate, back at that time, in order to get initiated, it was required that you be on the vegetarian diet for 6 months, to actually be on that diet for 6 months, and then you could get initiated if you got initiated through one of his representatives. So I started on the vegetarian diet and was going to satsang, and then we learned that the master was about to come on tour, and so I went to Washington, D.C., and of course with the master on tour, you didn't have to go the full 6 months on the vegetarian diet. You could get initiated right away in his physical presence. As you know, that has changed since. So things was a little bit more hoops you had to go through back then. So there were about 100 people in the room in Washington, D.C. for the initiation, and I guess I could say that about Master Kirpal, I was scared of him. Maybe like, in great awe and great reverence. It was said of him, he was like someone like a steel glove, but with velvet on the inside. And he also said for us to go jolly. He really had this deep sense of humor and this laugh that would come out of him. It was really something. Then later on in that tour, I was able to travel to St. Petersburg Beach, which was another one of the tour stops in Florida. And he was at a picnic there with initiates gathered there, and he gave a talk in the open air. One of the things that happened at the airport there when arriving there, before going to the picnic, it so happened, in the airport they have these little trains that go from one terminal to the other. Well, it so happened that when I arrived there, I got on one of these trains, and I was, maybe this far from Master Kirpal, standing there on the train for the whole ride, which must seem like, 10 minutes or something like that, and just to have that looking at each other like that was really something that struck me. And every time I'm in an airport ever since then, and now I remember that, and airports are pretty negative places, and so that's a very good remembrance that I have.
So, my dear, I am sorry that I could not control myself, and that I had suffered in this world some time back, and I was searching for something to live upon. From the very beginning, I had some understanding that this world is not real. This world is suffering. and that when I was reading the scriptures, there was some hope given that there is way that we can come out of sufferings and we can enjoy. This word enjoyment was also available. That is available in this life, in this world also. Although it was really to be found in the kingdom of God, but we are not wait for that long time, maybe 20 years more, 30 years more, 50 years more. But even now it is available. I was searching for, but nowhere I could find any place where I could feel that I am now. That place